tiba Tili monga zesko load shedding tima zimya Hey, monga mapomo tima dimba Sindine nakati
my life. I got so many temptations in my life, but with your spirit in my life, I'm an overcome.
Hope support you, so I'm giving him praise like my main David. Then you made him king, a king that could sing with the feather dipped in.
Na chikondi cha Yesu nachiona, napeza chikondi cha zona, nini mulavu ya zona.
I praise him for days and I'm never gonna stop. I keep doing this, I'm never gonna press pause. Cause of his love, that I'm a sin on the third row.
Have you invited Christ or you are still undecided? Better decide that before you lie. Just like Jordan, we be caught up in the air.
Mumfinsi na chibeleshi chaba inzi Chimpwena looking imeno pancha monga tinki Richinga na mbuye everyday monga sisi za kinki Stimbela zoni monga bake kuvala.
My name is Alinani Mugala. Back then I used to roar as a Jesus addict. That was my stage name. But I'm still addicted to Jesus. Now yeah.
Hey, what's up? My name is Elfish, aka Rizon, aka R2, Christian rap artist here in Zambia.
Well, challenges. Obviously, I think the biggest challenge was being accepted. Being accepted within the Think Christian circles, within the Think Christian community. Because I think what we were doing was a bit unorthodox, you know what I mean? Like, people really didn't feel or understand the need to have Christian hip-hop in the church, you know? So that one was a big challenge, because most of the times when you try to reach out to like youth groups, to like certain churches, or like even Christian events, and you go there as a rapper or you want to do hip-hop, no one will take you seriously, you know? Actually, in most cases, we were let in, just not really that they really believed that we like had something to offer, but we were just allowed around because maybe they didn't want us to go secular, you know, and then just keeping us within the church, you know, hoping that maybe one day we'll flip and be like everybody else. One of the biggest success stories I point to personally is there's a time when we had an encounter with Reverend Fortune Mwiza at Deliverance Church. I remember there was a gig there. I'm not sure if it was Jesus in the House concert. I'm not sure. But we went to Deliverance Church. I remember there was myself, there was R2, and like, I'm not quite sure whether it was before or after our performance, you know, we were given the floor to like make an appeal to the church, you know, and I think after that, Reverend Mwiza actually did sort of like give an endorsement, you know what I mean? And he was like, yo, these guys are cool and these guys are legit. And for me, getting that from Reverend was like really something huge. Another success, I mean, like personally, I've been privileged to be part of a church that embraces Christian hip-hop. My pastor is a huge fan of Christian hip-hop and he loves it and he understands it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just some little thing that's being done or like some little cool thing or like a fad. You know, he really appreciates that fact. And there were a number of men of God that really bought into what we were doing. People like Bishop Mbulo, I mean, his son was a rapper. So, you know, yeah. Yeah, so, and the biggest success, obviously, you know, is when, like, after a show, after a performance, you see people responding to the salvation call. And for me, that just gave me the reason to go on, you know what I mean? Like, regardless of what people said, for me, seeing people respond to the salvation call was like, bang, this is it. And there are people who can relate to this type of ministry, and there are people who can actually get to hear God's call upon their lives through such a ministry. So we saw a lot of people get saved, a lot of people having their lives established. I mean, like, there are names I can drop right now of youngsters who just got to love God, got to love the Word of God after we got to minister to them. And we still like kick it, you know what I mean? Like, we're still in touch with them, and we've more or less like become family, you know, obviously beyond the stage, being able to disciple some of the young cats and just seeing them grow in the things of God. And when you look back, you know, and you just get to be so amazed to see actually it was Christian hip-hop that got them hooked up or that got them attracted to God. Obviously, it was the anointing, you know what I mean, but through the means or through that channel of Think Christian Hip Hop. So yeah, I think those are the challenges and some of the success stories that we had. Obviously, there was a resource issue as a big challenge. I mean, like, guys just used to like just come in with their own monies. I mean, like, it was an expensive thing to do. You know what I mean? Like, it was an expensive thing to do. I remember back then we never had like a lot of studios to go and record. If you go and record, you like had to travel, you know what I mean, like a long distance, and just like getting money off your pocket. It wasn't that luxurious, so to say, but you know what I mean. Because of the heart that a lot of ministers had, that a lot of guys had, we were able to, you know what I mean, to like make sacrifices and whatever, just to go out because we really believe that God had called us to do this thing. Yeah.
I think the biggest challenge that we had was we were an island. We're not being accepted by the Christians. We're not being accepted by those that were in the world. Christian hip hop was something that was absolutely foreign. I mean, we don't blame anybody else. We don't blame anyone for having that perception because hip hop in itself is associated with vulgar language. It's associated with how women were being treated and all sorts of things, and it was not being accepted. And I think what that meant is that we needed to be deeper. Whatever we had to do, whatever we were bringing out, had to make so much sense for that to be accepted. That was the biggest challenge we had. If we have to talk about the successes of Christian hip hop, I think we can look through the challenges at the same time, because now we have Christian hip hop being sought after, not only being accepted, but we have people looking for the substance in Christian hip hop. In part, they do have a little bit of the same challenges, but I think the biggest challenge that rappers today have is something that is probably within the church. I think they're being accepted in the church. I believe they're being accepted outside. But I think the biggest challenge is something that is intrinsic, which is the deepness or the relevance. See, Christian music, from when we started doing Christian music, it was never about making people feel good. It was never about only making people feel closer to God. It was about ushering and directing. And I feel sometimes when we do listen to the music now, it lacks just a little bit of that substance. It is good, the quality is good, the quality is amazing, but I think and feel we need to also focus on the depth of the music itself. I think that's what the challenge is at the moment.
One of the biggest successes that guys have now, I don't know if it's a success or it's a privilege that they have now, is they have more platforms. You know what I mean? Like, they have more platforms to reach out. Radio can play them today. I remember, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but the first song I ever recorded way back, I remember taking it to, I don't know if I'm allowed to, anyway, but I remember taking it to a radio station, right? And a Christian radio station, for that matter. And like, I was just looking forward to hearing it on radio. And dang, man, like, it's been ages. And no, it wasn't whack, but like up to now, like I've never heard that song. You know, back then, the people used to put us like at the end, you know what I mean? So like, for your song to get played, man, it must have come like after a lot of prayer and fasting. But I mean, but today, like, I tune into radio stations, Christian radio stations and non-Christian radio stations, and I hear guys' music just like playing, though there's a long way to go, you know what I mean? I mean, there's some artists who I feel are not supposed to be confined to it's retunes.com, but they really need to get onto radio, you know what I mean? And these are guys who are like really, really good. Like, I'm still looking forward to hearing a Josie J or a church song bumping on mainstream radio, because those guys are like really off the hook, you know? So guys today have got the privilege of using so many different platforms. Today you can put up a show and people will come. I mean, having shows back then was another pain in the neck. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't easy to like put up a strictly hip hop show. We actually used to ride on Rumba concerts, you know what I mean, for us to like perform, you know. But today you can put up just a straight up hip hop show, straight up Christian hip hop show, and people are going to come. So a lot of people are paying attention now, you know. A lot of people are paying attention, which is really, really good, though we do have a long way to go.
Number one, calling multitudes to events. I think that's a success that we are seeing now. The reach is far much bigger. If we have to talk about something we can do much more, is disciple so much more. But I think that is the biggest success. Number two, I can look at the collaboration that we have. Christian artists now in this country are able to collaborate with Christian artists in other countries. It was absolutely difficult for us to do all of those things when we were coming up. We have artists being invited to international events. That's also something that I believe has worked out really well for the latter generation.
You know what, you know, like I've been talking to guys, you know, actually big up to Traffic for this project that is putting up. I really feel, I mean, like back then we had the heart and the soul, you know, like we were just going out like 100 just to go out and just preach the gospel, you know, both on and off the stage. Guys were just like sold out, you know, like literally just sold out. People just wanted to dance, people wanted to rap, people wanted to DJ, people wanted to just go out and literally just make Christ famous, you know. And over the years, people have sort of grown up, you know. I mean, like you know, like we have a huge disconnect right now, you know. Personally, I feel, and I'm actually pointing at myself right now, you know, like there's a huge disconnect between guys then and guys now. That I think can be due to the fact that I think we knew what we needed to do in that period, and we like ran out of ideas. You know what I mean? Like we don't know how to like continue this and get guys who are coming after this. Because I mean, like before us, there were people, but there were very few. You know, and like after that period, like the movement died. You know what I mean? And then we came on the scene, and we really didn't have anybody to pour into us or like anybody to guide us through and tell us, okay, you guys, after this stage, like what you need to do is to continue like pouring into cats that are coming after you and building new platforms. I mean, there are guys that are still involved in the movement actively and doing great stuff. Like I said, big up to Think Traffic for this project. But there's a lot of work that we need to do now. You know, people always like life happened. You know what I mean? Like life happened. People stopped rapping. I haven't stopped rapping. I still rap at church.
I think the biggest role that we can play is number one, discipleship. Being able to disciple and being able to keep accountable those that are coming behind us. We made so many mistakes. Even though we've had a lot of successes, we've made so many mistakes, and we need to make sure that the people that are coming behind us do not commit the same mistakes. It might not be mistakes. There are certain things that we could have done better back then, and I feel it's our responsibility to make sure that those who are coming behind us have a smoother ride in ministry.
That's a tough question, right? Because I'm not really sure if guys are united or not. But from what I see, you see, it's very difficult to make a comparison of one era and another era. Okay, it's easy if you're actively involved in it. I mean, like right now, if you ask me to name like 5, 6, 7 Christian rappers out, I'm probably going to end like on 3. You know what I mean? So because I'm not so much aware of it. But one thing I can say, not blowing our own trumpet, I think we used to kick it, you know what I mean? Like, I honestly think we used to be more united, okay? Why I say so, it's because back then, right, there were very limited platforms, okay? And the community was very small, you know, so we were more or less, I think, because of the environment that we're in, we were forced to be together, to work as a unit, to ride as a unit, as opposed to now. I mean, like today you've got so many outlets, so many platforms, you know, and you might think that people are not united. Okay, maybe it's just because, you know, like it's easy to do things on your own nowadays than it was back then. You know, back then I needed a DJ who was popping, you know, so like I was forced to be close to DJ who was popping. You know what I mean? Back then I needed an R2, and I think what brought us together wasn't really the Christian hip hop thing per se. It was just like genuine, legit relationships that brought us together. That's why even today, like, it's so easy for us to like just ride together and be together. So the relationships have like actually sustained us beyond that phase when we used to do music, you know. And nowadays, I think it's easier for people to get to know each other because of music. Oh, because I saw this guy's track up on hisriches.com, or I saw this guy's music up on I think what's the other site? Natives.com, or maybe counterpoint.com, you know. But back then I think relationships were very legit, and even up to this day there are people like in the new era, so to speak, who are like riding together, you know. Like I know a few cats who are like riding together genuinely, you know. So I really can't say that we were more united than the guys are today, because to be honest, I'm not so much in sync with what's going on at the moment, you know. Yeah.
Gotta be turned up with this.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Well, I'd say no. I say no. I think we can do so much better. Back then, I remember whenever we had events, you know, we just never did events. Everybody knew there was an event. We had a calendar, for instance, that, you know, August is probably hell empty. You know, December, you have Jesus in the house. We had calendar events, and nobody would do an event without anybody knowing. But now, I mean, we're liberal. It's not like we're bound to anything. But now, we do not have that close touch that we have. Now, we do not have, hey, let me check up on this brother a whole lot. Maybe it's because I'm not in the circles that much, so I'm not getting a lot of people calling me, a lot of artists calling me. But from the surface, I feel we can do so much better. There were times when we never had an event. We just called each other and we were just in the same place, and we ministered to each other even before we went out to minister. I think we need to get back to a little bit of that. See, tradition is not bad, you know, those felt like tradition, but it's through that we managed to push holy hip hop to where it is right now. And some people may not fully understand or appreciate that, but in that we found a lot of encouragement. In that we got to know different talents. You know, I'll give you an example. Today we are looking at Gio. Gio as a producer, Gio as a rapper. Gio was far from being a producer and a rapper. When we started ministry, Gio was just a dancer. You know what I'm saying? So through ministry, learning to minister to one another, even in small groups, I think we can go to the next level of Christian music and Christian people.
I got so many addictions in my life. I got so many temptations in my life. But with your spirit in my life, I'm an overcomer.